Part 4. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 31. Chapter 031 Drone Surveillance, Survivors of Dawa Commercial Building. After clearing away the dishes, Zhao Wanqing felt envious as she looked at Lin Fan and Lin Fan hugging each other on the sofa. The sound of footsteps behind her woke her up, and her face changed slightly. Zhao Wanqing quickly walked to Lin Fan and the two of them, and said respectfully, "My lord, I have something to tell you." Holding Lin Yuyu in his arms, Lin Fan raised his head and asked, "What's the matter? Just tell me." Zhao Wanqing didn't hesitate, turned around, took out a drone from the room, and placed it in front of Lin Fan. "What's the meaning?" "My lord, I got this from the supermarket below. I know that your spirit is not limited to the hospital, so today I used a drone to check around the hospital, hoping to help my lord." Zhao Wanqing did not lie, but she had some selfish motives. She did not have Lin Yuyu's powerful ability, and her appearance had not yet recovered, so she could only make achievements in other areas. The arrival of Zhao Yanyan and the others gave her a huge sense of crisis. She originally planned to wait, but now she had to take it out. Unfortunately, the time was too short. After searching with the drone for most of the day, she luckily found a place where survivors gathered. "Oh? So what did you find?" Lin Fan glanced at Zhao Wanqing in surprise. This woman is very enterprising and far-sighted. When Lin Fan asked, Zhao Wanqing's eyes flashed with excitement, "My lord," through the camera device installed on the drone. "After searching again and again, my subordinates discovered that there were people moving on the top floor of Dawa Mall in the distance, but it was unclear how many people there were. Due to time constraints, my subordinates have only discovered survivors on the top floor of Dawa Shopping Mall, and have not found others yet. My lord, look, this is the image returned by the drone." Zhao Wanqing took out her phone, unlocked it, and clicked on a video. She looked at the picture on the phone with interest. The pixels were quite clear. The camera kept moving slowly, as if she was looking for something. At first, there was nothing discovered, but soon, the camera locked on a commercial building, and then the camera quickly zoomed in, and finally saw it clearly. On the top floor of the commercial building, there were figures shaking, a lot of them, including men and women, each of them neatly dressed, and his complexion was rosy, and he didn't look like he had experienced the apocalypse at all, and he didn't have any sallow complexion caused by lack of food. Thinking about where the other party was, all this made sense. After all, he was eating and wearing clothes in a shopping mall. Worry, even because of the arrival of the Doomsday, everything is free, and these people can use it at will. Just when Lin Fan was watching the video, he suddenly found someone in the shopping mall looking over and watching the other person's movements. Lin Fan was slightly startled. "Have you discovered it? Think about it. A target as big as a drone is flying in the air. As long as you are careful, it can be easily discovered. But if you find it, you will find it, so what?" He handed the phone to Zhao Wanqing, nodded to her, and praised, "Well done. What reward do you want? I can agree to anything that's not too much. The hospital has been cleaned up. Lin Fan is bound to go out. Whether it is to improve his strength or to get rewards from the system, even if there are no rewards, he will not stop at the hospital." Although Zhao Wanqing's discovery is not of great help, but at least he was given a clear goal, and he would not be stingy with rewards. If there were no rewards at all, where would the motivation come from? In response to Lin Fan's promise, Zhao Wanqing bit her thin lips and said softly, "My lord, my subordinates are temporarily I haven a Euro trademark T thought about it yet, can you stay for now? Wait until you think about it before asking for it." Zhao Wanqing made up her mind. Now she has no advantage in appearance. This reward request was hard one. It will be difficult to get the reward after using it this time. "That's fine, you can come back to me when you think about it." Good. Thank you, Lord. Lin Fan was unexpectedly easy to talk to, which made Zhao Wanqing extremely grateful. She was afraid that Lin Fan would not agree to her request, but luckily Lin Fan agreed. As long as you are obedient, I will not treat you badly. Having said this, Lin Fan looked at Zhao Yanyan next to him. The same goes for you, including Li Saiqi in the room and Mu Yuqing who has a fever. Mu Yuqing is still having a fever, and Li Saiqi is taking care of her and feeding her, so Zhao Yanyan is the only one waiting outside. Lin Fan's promise made Zhao Yanyan, who was frightened today, grateful. After waving his hand, Lin Fan said, "You go and rest first. You are not needed here for the time being. I will call you if necessary." Zhao Wanqing didn't say much. She took the drone and left. She should have continued to explore if there were any other survivors around. As for Zhao Yanyan, she didn't leave. She stood by and faithfully performed her duties as a maid. "My lord, are you planning to go to Dewa Commercial Building tomorrow?" Looking up from Lin Fan's arms, Lin Yuyo's expression became serious when talking about business. Right, without any intention of hiding anything, Lin Fan said bluntly, "How can we allow others to sleep soundly on the side of the bed? It's getting late today. I'll go over and take over there tomorrow. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers." Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 32. Chapter 032, Are you targeting our commercial building? Unless the other party can fly? On the 12th floor of Dewa Commercial Building, Mu Kanghai stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, with his back to the door, overlooking the vast sea of a euro corpses below. The mist was lingering and the smoke was drifting away. Mu Kanghai pinched out the eyes in his hand, feeling a little worried in his heart. After getting up under the service of his secretary this morning, Mu Kanghai routinely stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows and looked down. This has become one of his daily pleasures. The arrival of the Doomsday did not have much impact on him, and his life was even more nourishing than before the Doomsday. Now he can do whatever he wants. He holds huge power in this commercial building. More than 70 survivors must obey his arrangements and act based on his expression. No one else, because he has a gun. There are people too. He is the uncrowned king in this shopping mall. When the apocalypse first broke out, he restrained himself, but after it was confirmed that the country had no spare power to rescue him, he acted more and more unscrupulously. No woman he fell in love with could escape his grasp. Those who rejected him had been thrown downstairs to feed the zombies in public. From then on, no woman dared to refuse, and no man was disobedient. But today, he had no interest in playing with women, just because of the drone he saw in the morning. Mu Kanghai didn't take it seriously at first, but when he discovered that the drone was observing him, he suddenly realized the seriousness of the problem. Someone is actually spying on him. Who is that person? What do you want to do? How many people are there on the other side? Questions like this kept popping up in his mind, which made him very anxious and didn't even want to eat. Click. The door of the office was pushed open, and a middle-aged man with Chinese characters and a fierce look walked in. He glanced at Mu Kanghai, who was standing next to the floor-to-ceiling window. "I said, Lao Hai, are you still thinking about what happened in the morning?" Hearing the voice from behind, Mu Kanghai turned his head, looked at the middle-aged man who walked in, and sighed, "Yes, I always feel a little uneasy in my heart." Mu Kanghai looked forward and backward, looking worried. Zhen Yugong felt contempt in his heart. He wanted to occupy the mountain and become the king, but he was also afraid of this and that. When you were playing with women and bullying ordinary people, why didn't you think about this? If it weren't for Mu Kanghai's hands, he had a gun and someone, so it was not easy to fall out. He had already kicked away the pig teammate who was holding him back. Before the end, he received a call from Mu Kanghai, saying that there was an accident here and that there was a madman biting people. He took the people, they came over, but they didn't Euro trademark T know it was not an ordinary incident, but a zombie crisis. Now, they were trapped in the commercial building. Fortunately, he still had some deterrence from his subordinates. Under his organization, the people in the commercial building carried out there was effective resistance, but of course many people were infected in the process and became members of the zombies. After everyone's unremitting efforts, the zombies were finally controlled below the 7th floor. The stairs were completely blocked by various debris, blocking the way. Cut off the way for the zombies to come up, and then with the gun in his hand, he formed an alliance with Mukanghai and ruled the entire commercial building. People can change, especially without moral and legal constraints, facing all kinds of things tempted by the temptation. Several of Zhen Yugong's team members quickly gave up their persistence and began to help the tyrants. They had no worries about food and drink, and there were women to play with. In the apocalypse, everyone was completely indulged. Today's Dewa commercial building is composed of Zhen Yugong and Mu. No one in Kanghai dared to be disobedient. Zhen Yugong despised Mu Kanghai's worried look, but everyone was just a grasshopper on the same rope. Zhen Yugong shook his head, pointed at the sea of a euro corpses below and said, "Look, those zombies down there, do you think they will let humans come up? Not to mention there are at least nearly 1,000 zombies below the 7th floor. Even if someone covets our shopping mall, they have to get through the zombies first. Besides the army, who do you think can get past so many zombies and come to cause us trouble? Unless the other party has wings and can fly." Zhen Yugong's words obviously had an effect. Looking at the dense zombies outside, Mu Kanghai shook his head. He felt that his worries were unfounded. Putting down the burden in his heart, Mu Kanghai suddenly felt hungry in his belly. He had been anxious today. "I haven't a Euro trademark tea eaten much, so now that I a Euro trademark am relieved, I naturally feel hungry and uncomfortable. Walk around, go eat, and when you're full, be sure to torture those women and vent your frustration." Mu Kanghai greeted Zhen Yugong and hurried to the door. "No problem, brother, I have made arrangements for you a long time ago. Lita Euro trademark S have an unobstructed conference today." "Good brother, you are still thoughtful." The two of them exchanged words with each other, walked out arm in arm, and completely forgot about the drone. That's how it was. There were thousands of corpses below, and they wanted to take advantage of them. You have to ask the zombies below first, otherwise, unless they can fly, don't a Euro trademark T even think about it. But the two of them could not imagine that Lin Fan could really fly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 33. In the hospital supermarket, they finalized their plans to go to the Dewa commercial building tomorrow. Lin Fan put his arms around Lin Yuyu, and the two played video games for a while. When the time reached 8 o'clock in the evening, they put down the controller and prepared to rest. In the room, Zhao Yanyan had already laid the floor. She and Li Saiki slept on the floor at night. This was Lin Yuyu's order. They should be responsible for certain matters at any time. For example, if Lin Fan was thirsty at night, they would have to pour water. When Lin Fan woke up, they had to get up immediately to dress and wash him. In normal times, nightlife has just started at 8 o'clock. Lin Fan would definitely not go to bed so early, but it is different now. Is the game as fun as Lin Yuyu? Is the TV as good as Lin Yuyu? What are you waiting for if you haven't slept yet? Come here you two. I don't know how long it took, but Lin Yuyu's tired voice came out. The two women froze, and then walked up obediently. Taking the mirror next to them, looking at the slightly recovered face, Zhao Wanqing was sure, at most half a month, she can return to her appearance before the end. When the time comes, no one can stop her from becoming Lin Fan's woman. The sun sets and rises again. Lin Fan opens his eyes. He had a lot of fun last night. Looking at the woman sleeping in his arms, Lin Yu lowered her head and kissed her lovingly before getting up. A slight noise woke up the two girls, Zhao Yanyan and Zhao Yanyan, who were sleeping on the floor. When they saw Lin Fan getting up, the two girls got up and helped Lin Fan get dressed regardless of the trauma. Fan walked out. In the living room, Zhao Wanqing had already prepared breakfast. The cakes baked by her own hands were very fragrant, and were paired with several bagged side dishes. Lin Fan's appetite was whetted. "Lord, are you going to the commercial building today?" Lin Fan took the paper towel and wiped his face, nodded and said, "I plan to go there and take a look. If conditions permit, I will bring some people back. We can't always eat bagged food in the supermarket. I plan to let some women cultivate the fields, grow some vegetables to eat, and fruits and so on. Eating packaged food every day, including canned beef, braised chicken, and luncheon meat, is not a problem. Fresh vegetables are the way to go." "That, Lord, be careful." Zhao Wanqing is worried. Even though she has seen how powerful Lin Fan is, she is not afraid of anything less than 10,000. She doesn't want anything to happen to Lin Fan. With a startled expression, she saw the worried look on Zhao Wanqing's face, and Lin Fan smiled and said, "Don't worry, those people can't hurt me yet, but I will pay attention. I haven't enjoyed enough of the good life." Leaving the supermarket and identifying the direction, Lin Fan jumped up, thunder flashed and thunder exploded, and headed straight for the Dawa commercial building. In mid-air, Lin Fan scratched his head as he looked at the massive zombies wandering on the street below. The outside is different from the inside of the hospital. There are densely packed zombies everywhere. When the time comes to clean it up, there will be endless waves, which is very troublesome. While thinking, Lin Fan has arrived at the rooftop of Dawa commercial building, standing on the rooftop and looking down. On the street below, Lin Fan discovered a problem. Why were there so many zombies around the Dawa commercial building? Moreover, these zombies seem to be gathering here purposefully. Why? Is it because there are living people here? Lin Fan didn't knowing clearly, and keeping this conjecture in mind, Lin Fan turned around and walked down the rooftop. Boom! The earth and rocks shattered, and a huge hole was opened in the ground of the rooftop. After fanning the flying smoke and dust, Lin Fan jumped directly down the big hole. Nothing. The solution is that the door to the rooftop is locked. Instead of kicking the door hard, it is better to be more direct. The arrogant kick was so powerful that the whole commercial building seemed to shake slightly. The sudden loud noise destroyed the dreams of countless people. In a certain room, Mu Kanghai was awakened by a loud noise and pushed away the woman next to him. He was still a little confused due to his hangover and the all-night party. He didn't know what happened for a while. He hurriedly got dressed and pushed away. He opened the door and happened to meet Zhen Yugang, who was also disheveled. "Yugang, what was the sound just now? Did you hear it?" "I still wanted to ask you, but a sudden sound scared me awake." Just when the two of them were looking at each other in confusion, a man ran over in a panic. "Team, Captain, someone came down from the roof. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers." Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 34. Chapter 034. Are you just pretending? Boom. The early morning rumble shook the entire top floor of the Dawa commercial building. The huge roar woke up everyone in their sleep. The first person to bear the brunt was the room where Lin Fan fell. "What? Who?" Swiping away the dust in front of his eyes, Lin Fan walked down from the pile of rocks, looked at the panicked man and woman in the room, glanced casually, and said in a loud voice, "It's so small." As for women, Lin Fan took one look and didn't care. She didn't look very good and had an average figure. Even if she wasn't wearing any clothes, Lin Fan couldn't be interested in her. His appetite made Lin Yu and Zhao Yanyan even more interested. A few people were being naughty. In the room, hearing Lin Fan shaking his head and commenting, the man's face suddenly darkened. Who are you? Get out of here quickly, believe it or not, I will throw you out to feed the zombies. He Miao had a ruthless look on his face and a fierce look in his eyes. He growled at Lin Fan while picking up the clothes next to him and putting them on hastily. He raised his eyebrows. This was the first time since he woke up that Lin Fan heard this. Others said they were going to throw him to feed the zombies, but did he look like a weak chicken? Lin Fan fell into deep thought. He put his clothes on randomly, looking at Lin Fan who looked calm and without any fear. He Miao felt in his heart his anger grew even stronger. After the apocalypse, when had he ever been so angry? Ever since he colluded with the captain Zhen Yugang, with the police gun in his hand, who among the survivors of the Dawa commercial building did not respect him respectfully. Whoever is unhappy is the same. He was punching and kicking, and he wanted to play with which woman he wanted to play with. This was much more comfortable than before the apocalypse. Someone dared to challenge him now? Do you really think his gun was vegetarian? He opened the cabinet, took out the pistol, and skillfully opened the safety. He Miao looked ferocious, pointed his gun at Lin Fan's head in the air, and shouted, "Do you know what this is? Ah! Aren't you crazy? Are you crazy about me?" Bang! The door was knocked open, and several figures rushed in. Looking at the situation in the room, the few people who rushed in were stunned. Lao Miao, what's going on? Lu Bao, who was the first to rush in, had the best relationship with He Miao. Looking at the big hole on the roof, he was very confused. Grass. You ask me, how did I know that I was sleeping well, and this guy suddenly fell down from above and taunted me? It just so happened that some people were not very honest these days. Today I will use this guy to establish his power and let those men know. Anyone who disobeys will die. He Miao's tone was harsh, and he was very annoyed. Lu Bao looked Lin Fan over. He always felt a little strange. Does this man have a brain defect? A euro, or was he already frightened? He was not afraid of being pointed at a gun. Don't a euro trademark T you think this is a fake gun? Lu Bao felt that something was wrong. Where did the hole on the roof come from? If you want to open such a big hole, you must at least use explosives, right? Lu Bao felt uneasy. He hesitated and took a few steps back, with a calm expression on his face. Being pointed at a gun, Lin Fan didn't feel scared at all. It's just a pistol, so what if I give you a sniper rifle? Can you hurt me? Scan the people who rushed in. After a few glances, Lin Fan turned his gaze back to He Miao. You want to throw me out to feed the zombies? Right? I will throw you out to feed the zombies right now. Seemingly confident, He Miao walked towards Lin Fan with the gun raised. He never thought about Lin Fan's resistance. Under normal circumstances, who would dare to move when a gun is pointed at him? Do you really think that the head is harder than a bullet? He Miao is not. He was born in the police academy. Although his character is corrupt now, he still has some skills. He can easily take down 1 or 2 people. He is not afraid of Lin Fan at all. Seeing He Miao walking towards him, Lin Fan shook his head. Speaking of which, I have a euro trademark T tried it yet. How does it feel to lose a person to zombies? A euro trademark LL try it on you today. With that said, Lin Fan walked up to meet He Miao, which confused several people present. Is this man cerebral palsy? He Miao had a gun in his hand. He Miao, the person involved, also felt that something was wrong. No, what the hell, he has a gun in his hand. The kid in front of him actually said that he wanted to use him to try the feeling of throwing people to zombies. Where is this lunacy? Are you really not afraid of death? Good. 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 Boy, you really have courage. Looking at Lin Fan walking over, He Miao's anger rose, and he grabbed Lin Fan with a grab. Just when everyone thought that the matter was over, the situation that was originally a sure thing, suddenly changed strangely. You are pretending to be your own horse. Looking at the captured He Miao, Lin Fan went up and slapped He Miao staggering, then grabbed the stunned He Miao like a chicken. Puff. Zhang Shu spat out a few bloody teeth. He Miao's eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, the left side of his face was swollen, and the 5 fingerprints were so obvious. The muzzle of the gun was pressed against Lin Fan's head, and He Miao roared, "I will destroy you." Boom. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 35. Chapter 035, Flick away with one finger, panic. Boom. Ah. It hurts me to death. The gunshot echoed, followed by He Miao's painful roar. His whole right hand was dripping with blood, and the pistol fell to the side. Lu Bao and others were stunned. He Miao's pistol exploded. Didn't they see the gun in front of them? The man was beaten to death, but his own hand was blown up and dripping with blood. Soon, Lu Bao discovered something was wrong. At such a close distance, He Miao's hand was almost blown apart by the explosion of the pistol. Why did this man do nothing? None. He didn't trademark T even blink, and his expression was still so calm. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Boy, let go of He Miao quickly. Your kid has never died, right? Several people in the room came to their senses and rushed forward one after another, swearing and swearing, without taking Lin Fan seriously. Lu Bao did not follow, and even retreated. He felt that what happened this morning was full of weirdness, and he wanted to be on the safe side. He thought it was better to inform Zhen Yugong first. Lu Bao ran away, and Lin Fan didn't pay attention. He looked at the men who were shouting and scolding, with disdain flashing in his eyes. The man in front flew directly backwards. Boom. A large human-shaped hole was knocked out of the wall, and lightning flashed next to the hole. In an instant, the whole room became quiet, and even He Miao's screams stopped. Frightened. Everyone in the room had a look of horror in their eyes, and their whole bodies were cold. They didn't understand. What just happened? Why did Hu Feng, who was rushing at the front, fly away? And he also knocked out such a big hole in the wall. Hole. What did the unknown man in front of them do? Combined with the exploding incident just now, they all understood where He Miao's gun exploded. It was clearly this man who had done something. You. What did you just say? A chill arose in my heart. Being stared at by Lin Fan, several people present shook their heads. Without, nothing. Yes, it's nothing. I suddenly remembered that the captain wanted to ask me for something. My girlfriend is about to give birth, so I trademark am leaving first. Several people retreated one after another. They were all afraid of death, and even more afraid of being bounced away by Lin Fan. It was so terrifying. What happened today had shattered their outlook on life, and they didn't want to stay for a moment. Did I let you go? Looking sideways at the few people who were about to leave, Lin Fan had a sarcastic look on his face. They were all very brave just now, but now they are scared? Do you want to leave? Their faces were pale, and the 3 of them were trembling with fear. They were like chaff. Lin Fan He Miao was paralyzed with fright. His face was ashen and he didn't react at all. If he wasn't still alive, Lin Fan would have doubted whether he was frightened to death. In the corridor outside the door, Lu Bao almost stopped breathing. His heart almost exploded. Almost. Just almost, if he had walked one step faster, he would have just been knocked away by Hu Feng, who suddenly flew out. With a stiff neck, Lu Bao looked at the big bang that hit the wall. Hole, he almost collapsed to the ground, but fortunately, he stabilized. He knew that things were not that simple, and sure enough, his guess was right. Ignoring the weakness, Lu Bao ran forward in a panic. Go, he is going to inform Zhen Yugang that this matter is no longer something he can solve. If it is not handled well, they may all die. Zhen Yugong's room is not far from here, and Lu Bao saw the disheveled clothes from a dozen meters away. Zhen Yugang and Mu Kanghai, who had just walked out of the room, immediately shouted, "Captain! Team leader! Something big happened, a man came down from the roof of the building, and I suspect that the man has some superpowers, or that he can transform people." Lu Bao was out of breath as he ran over. Zhen Yugang and Mu Kanghai were confused. "What did you say?" "Ita Euro trademark s too late to explain." "Captain, please go over and take a look. If this matter is not resolved, we may have to finish it." Zhen Yugong's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Mu Kanghai and said, "Let's go quickly and talk as we go." Going straight to He Miao's room, listening to Lu Bao's narration, Zhen Yugang and Mu Kanghai had sullen faces. If things were as Lu Bao said, today's matter would be very difficult to handle. The distance was not that far, the three of them arrived in a short while, but there were a lot of people at the scene. Not only Zhen Yugong's men, but several of Mu Kanghai's bodyguards were also present, as well as many survivors who came over. He was carrying he who looked like a dead dog. "Meow," Lin Fan looked at the zombies downstairs. Although he had expected it, he still felt a little numb when he looked at the densely packed, black heads below. There were too many. At least several thousand. Looking at these zombies below, Lin Fan more and more confirmed a certain suspicion in his heart. "Team leader. Boss." The voice was a bit noisy. Lin Fan came back to his senses and looked at the two people coming over after separating from the crowd. Coupled with the names of the people around him, he understood that these two people should be the people in power here. Just when Lin Fan looked at Zhen Yugang and the two at that time, Zhen Yugang and Mu Kanghai were also looking at Lin Fan, especially He Miao who was being carried in his hands. "Little brother, we have something to talk about. Can we talk?" Filu's 18th anniversary brand upgrade rewards readers. Deposit 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 36. Chapter 036. Talk to me. Do you deserve it? Talk. Raising his eyebrows and looking at Zhen Yugang, Lin Fan raised his eyebrows and flicked his right hand. He Miao, who was caught in his hand, was hanging directly outside the railing. There was a dense group of corpses dozens of meters below his feet. "No, no, no. Don't want. Captain, save me. Help me. I don't want to die." He Miao was horrified, with tears streaming down his face. Now he finally knew what it was like for those who were thrown away. He was furious. Lin Fan's actions undoubtedly meant that he was not taken seriously. Zhen Yugang endured it. Angry, he said pleasantly, "Little brother, I think." Ah. The smile on Zhen Yugong's face froze, his eyes widened, and he stared blankly at Lin Fan's empty right hand. The shrill scream was like a huge slap on his face. Looking at the middle-aged man in front of him with a sarcastic expression, Lin Fan turned to look downstairs. The dense sea of a euro corpses instantly swallowed up the thrown He Miao, just like a drop of water dropped into the sea without causing any ripples. Is this what it feels like to drop a living person? Really boring. With a calm tone, Lin Fan turned to look at Zhen Yugang and asked, "What did you just say? Want to talk to me?" If he hadn't heard some news from Lu Bao that made him unsure of Lin Fan's depth, he would definitely draw his gun and blow Lin Fan's head off right now. Throw his people out to feed the zombies in front of him. This simply does not take him seriously. He swore that after he found out the details of Lin Fan, if it was not too difficult to chew, he would definitely kill Lin Fan. Taking a deep breath, Zhen Yugong retracted the smile on his face and said sternly with a straight face, he nodded and said, yes, I think we need to talk about it. Do you deserve it? Me. Zhen Yugong was so angry that he almost burst a blood vessel in his brain. He is so stupid that he doesn't treat him as a human being. Are you worthy? What contempt is this? Now go call all you women out and give you 5 minutes. Zhen Yugong was so angry that the 3 corpses jumped, but Lin Fan didn't feel anything. He didn't think there was anything wrong with what he said. Who is Zhen Yugong trash? Talk to him. Are you qualified? Why, just with those broken guns. Are you scared? It's enough to scare ordinary people, but he doesn't take it seriously. Hearing Lin Fan's orders, Zhen Yugong laughed angrily. This was the first time he saw someone dare to be so crazy in front of him. Click. The pistol was loaded, and Zhen Yugong raised the gun. Pointing at Lin Fan, in an instant, several of the men present raised their guns, along with several of Mu Kanghai's bodyguards. Young man, you are very crazy. Although I don't a Euro trademark T know how you used to blow up Hemo Euro trademark S gun, but it doesn't a Euro trademark T matter. So what if you can blow up one gun? So many guns, you. Damn it. Looking at his empty hands, Zhen Yugong's eyes widened, and he immediately said a classic national curse. Before he could finish pretending, the gun flew away. Not only him, but also several of his team members, including Mu Kanghai's all the bodyguards had their guns taken off their hands. For a moment, everyone was stunned. A total of 9 guns floated in front of Lin Fan. They looked at Zhen Yugong and the others with a sarcastic expression. Lin Fan smiled and said, say, why didn't you say anything? Do you have the ability to continue? Following Lin Fan's words, the 9 guns slowly turned their direction, and the black muzzles were aimed at their master. Zhen Yugong broke into a cold sweat when the gun was aimed at his head. Damn it! You had such awesome abilities. You should have told me earlier. Arena Euro trademark T, you cheating on me? Don't, no, little brother, if you have something to say it well, say it well. We all listen to you, put your gun down first. Zhen Yugong was frightened instantly. No matter who has a gun pointed at his head, he can't be strong. He is afraid of death, he is very afraid of death. I said, call out all the women here, you only have 5 minutes, oh, now 1 minute has passed, you still have 4 minutes. What will happen if those women can't be called in 4 minutes? Zhen Yugong doesn't know, but it will definitely end badly. Thinking of this, Zhen Yugong quickly turned around and shouted, what are you still doing? Go quickly. Call all those women over here. Go quickly. Oh. New. The stunned people at the scene left one after another, and several of Zhen Yugong's men quickly followed the instructions. Mu Kanghai, who had recovered his senses, also quickly asked the bodyguards to help. As time passed, Lin Fan leaned on the railing, they looked bored, but Zhen Yugong and Mu Kanghai, who were pointed at by guns, were not so leisurely. The two of them felt that seconds were like years, and the sweat on their faces was flowing down like money. After a while, a group of women they were driven over, and there were quite a few of them. At a glance, there were about 30 or 40 of them. Even though they were tall, they were just average. A few of them were pretty, but Lin Fan was not interested. Compared with Lin Yu and others, they are really far behind. The women who were driven over didn't understand what happened, and they didn't dare to speak. They seemed to be frightened by people like Zhen Yugong for the past month. Seeing these women coming over, Zhen Yugong wiped the sweat from his head and said with a smile. Sir, all, eat a Euro trademark S all here, take a look, don't a Euro trademark TU. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 37. Under the threat of death, a woman is nothing. As long as Lin Fan can get out of here quickly, nothing will be a problem. Lin Fan glanced at these women and nodded. Although these women didn't look very good and they didn't know how old they were, it didn't matter. As long as they are women, they don't need to be pretty, they just need to be able to grow vegetables, work, etc. Lin Fan's purpose of coming here was to pack these women back to grow vegetables. After passing Zhen Yugong and others, Lin Fan came to the group of women. As Lin Fan approached, these women subconsciously took a few steps back. From today on, your ownership is mine. Now go back and get your clothes, and then gather here. I will give you 10 minutes. Those who haven't arrived, don't come. Many women looked at Mu Kanghai, Zhen Yugong, and others with uneasy expressions. Seeing the looks of these women, Zhen Yugong quickly shouted, "You can do whatever the Lord says, see what I do." Zhen Yugong was panicking. If this made Lin Fan feel unhappy, it would be such an injustice to give him some peanuts. He was startled by Zhen Yugong's shout. Dozens of women did not dare to hesitating, he quickly dispersed and went to pack his things. Watching the group of women leave, Lin Fan casually made a move, and more than a dozen magazines flew over from all directions. Although Lin Fan didn't need the pistol, he could use it to play with. If not, you can still reward Zhao Yanyan and the others. There must be someone to manage these women when they are brought back. Although Zhao Yanyan and the others have a low status, they are still used by him. Compared with these women, their status is simply much higher. These pistols can give it to Zhao Yanyan and the others and let them take care of these women. Women who are disobedient and do not work well will be punished. The pistol is a deterrent and a symbol of power. Lin Fan has no intention of raising these women in vain and will do anything if they are disobedient. Those who are alive will have nothing to eat, and those who are causing trouble will be thrown away to feed the zombies. This is Lin Fan's way of coping. He feels that this is already very kind. At least he does not have to sell his body, live without dignity, and be beaten and scolded from time to time. There wasn't a Euro trademark tea much to eat, it was just a tool for men to vent their anger. I didn't a Euro trademark tea wait long, let alone 10 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes at most, before all the women came back, one at a time. Put all the pistols and magazines into your personal space, right? As these women waved, Lin Fan said, "Follow me. As for you, just do whatever you need to do, so don't follow me." "Yes, yes, sir, walk slowly, walk slowly." Although Zhen Yugong couldn't bear to part with those pistols, he was still very happy that Lin Fan could leave. Fortunately, at least his life was saved. He was afraid that Lin Fan would take away these women and not let him go, so there was nothing he could do no more. He led a group of women to the top floor. This time he was not alone. It was easier to walk through the door. As for the door being locked, it was not a problem. Seeing Lin Fan disappearing, Zhen Yugong and others he breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat from his head. He was glad that he finally escaped. What I said yesterday, I knew things would not be that simple. Sure enough, we are out of luck today, Mu Kanghai sighed, with quite a bit of complaint in his tone. Zhen Yugong almost wanted to vomit blood, but now he's thinking about it in hindsight. Didn't you have a great time last night? Ah. I don't a Euro trademark tea want to die. It hurts. Get out of here. Woohoo, save me. The inexplicable screams came from downstairs. The sound was not loud and seemed to be relatively far away. Zhen Yugong's ears were good, and a bad premonition arose in his heart. He quickly asked what happened. Everyone present looked at a loss. They had no idea what Zhen Yugong was asking, but soon, they also heard the screams, and they even got louder and closer. Zhen Yugong didn't bother to ask any more questions, and hurriedly I ran to the railing and looked down. I saw dense crowds of zombies rushing towards the stairs. On other floors, the railings were densely packed with running zombies. There were figures running for their lives in front of these zombies. I looked at the stairs on the 7th floor. Zhen Yugong's pupils suddenly shrank. There were originally piles of various electrical appliances as obstacles, but now they have all disappeared. Damn it! Zhen Yugong knew what happened without even thinking about it. Zombies can't move things. The only one who can do this is the man just now. Fortunately, he thought that man let them go. In fact, there was no such man at all. I want the zombies to bite them all to death. What a cruel heart. Such cruel methods. Run. Wrong. Go move things quickly and block the stairs, zombies are coming. Hurry. Zhen Yugong roared wildly, and everyone with pale faces reacted and ran to move things like crazy, even the boss Mu Kanghai was no exception. On the roof, Lin Fan was not in a hurry to leave. He had already heard it with his well-developed senses. Screams coming from downstairs. I'm not that kind, how could I let you live? The dead are the safest. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 38. Did you see Chapter 038? This is the fate of disobedience. Lin Fan's voice was not concealed, and all the women nearby heard it. For a moment, boundless fear arose in their hearts. Lin Fan heard the rapid breathing behind him clearly. He smiled slightly, turned around and looked at the many women behind him. Just in time, I also want to show you what will happen if you disobey me, so that you won't be disobedient and have any little thoughts that you shouldn't have. This is not Lin Fan's nonsense. After a person is stable, various thoughts will arise uncontrollably in his heart. This is normal. People are creatures of desire. They instinctively want better. After all, people want to reach higher places. Let's go, the water flows downwards. In order to reduce the occurrence of this kind of thing, Lin Fan thought it would be better to vaccinate these women. The ground beneath his feet was shattered, and a huge roar was heard in the center of the building. In one part, a large hole with a radius of 10 meters appeared. Lin Fan waved his hand, go over and take a look and see what happened to those people. With a wave of his hand, such a huge hole was blasted out. The women were all frightened. After hearing Lin Fan's order, they did not dare to hesitate. They walked to the edge of the huge pit in fear, looked down, and took a breath. The cold air. Standing on the edge of the giant pit, looking at the dense zombies rushing up, these women were almost paralyzed with fear, especially when they saw the men who usually domineering over them were bitten to death by zombies. In the end, becoming a member of the zombie army, their livers and gallbladders were filled with chills, and their spines were shivers. Satisfied with the expressions of these women, Lin Fan asked, have you seen them all? This is the fate of disobeying me. Look, saw it? If you don't obey, the same will happen to you, do you understand? Understand. Understand. We understand. The reaction of the women was as expected by Lin Fan. Suddenly, Lin Fan was surprised. The situation below had unexpectedly changed. Downstairs, Zhen Yugong and others were struggling to carry huge electrical appliances and furniture one after another. Throwing it down the stairs, it was obvious that the stairs were completely blocked. Not to mention, with the efforts of more than 10 people, the stairs were actually blocked. At this time, the people who were running madly downstairs also came to the bottom of the escalator. Looking at the stairs piled with various electrical appliances, everyone was stunned. Roar. Ouch. The roar of the zombies came from behind. Several men turned to look at the group of corpses rushing towards them, each with a look of despair on their faces. Color. Climb. Climb up. Climb quickly. Several men climbed up various electrical appliances clumsily and hard, but these appliances were very unstable. After climbing a few steps, they fell from the top. Soon, very soon, the corpses swarmed in and killed several men in an instant. Drown. Ah! It hurt so much, Zhenyagang, you must die a good death. Mukanghai, I curse you. Bastard, sooner or later zombies will tear you apart. Ah! Zhenyagang, who is like a dog, I will not let you go even if I become a ghost, I will eat you even if I become a zombie. I can't live, and neither can you. Amidst the miserable wailing, a man ignored the bites of the zombies and moved all kinds of things blocked on the stairs. Zhenyagang and others upstairs changed their expressions and shouted quickly, quick. Throw something at him and kill him, but you can't let him move it away. Heavy objects were thrown down one by one, and soon the movement below stopped. Zhenyagang and others breathed a sigh of relief and collapsed on the ground. On the rooftop, looking down at all this happening, Lin Fan sneered and raised his arms. With a gentle wave of his palm, all the electrical appliances blocked on the stairs floated up and then were thrown downstairs. The unobstructed stairs could no longer stop the zombies, and the zombies rushed up to the top floor like a tide. Zhenyagang and others' expressions changed greatly, and they turned around and ran away. However, the top floor was so big, where could they run to? Soon, everyone was overwhelmed by the corpses, and there was no sound at all, and among the corpses, there were more dozens of new members. After watching everything that happened downstairs, Lin Fan raised his head. The women looked at Lin Fan in fear. In their hearts, Lin Fan was no different from a devil. The women's fearful expressions were all revealed. He closed his eyes and smiled calmly. This was the effect he wanted. You don't a Euro trademark T need to be so afraid. As long as you are obedient, you will be more comfortable than many people in the apocalypse. It's even the same as before the end, except there are no men to do the things you love, do you understand? Clear. Clear, the women nodded quickly. Got it, Lita Euro trademark Esco. With a wave of his hand, dozens of women floated up and flew in mid-air. Lin Fan looked at the dense sea of a Euro corpses below, turned around, and flew towards the hospital. Flying in mid-air, the women's faces turned pale one by one, waiting. After adapting, they all looked at everything on the ground curiously. Obviously, the feeling of flying in the sky without any props made them very novel. At the same time, they were even more shocked by Lin Fan's terror. These women all guessed, who is Lin Fan? In other words, is he a human or a god? How else could he do this? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Da. Chapter 39. Chapter 039 Zhao Wanqing, will jump from here and fall to death. Never lick a dog. Emma smells so good. In the hospital supermarket, Lin Fan came down with dozens of women. You guys wait here. Pushing open the door of the supermarket and walking in. On the second floor, Lin Fan saw Zhao Wanqing as soon as he came up. Seeing that she was about to kneel down to change his shoes, Lin Fan waved his hand. No, we have to go down soon. Are you and the others up? My lord, Miss Yu has just been out for a while. My subordinates checked the map and found some things you missed. Miss Yu has passed by and there should be good gains. Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki have difficulty moving and are now in Mu Yuking's house. Room. Oh, Zhao Wanqing's words aroused Lin Fan's interest. What did he miss? What is the so-called gain? He found that Zhao Wanqing was becoming more and more interesting. Speaking of which, Zhao Wanqing could be considered an unintentional discovery. The hospital is so big. Where does the food for doctors and nurses come from? There must be a canteen, right? Otherwise, patients can order food, But what about doctors? Do they also order food from outside every day? It is obviously impossible. I asked Lin Yuyu, but did not get any results. The main reason was that Lin Yuyu had never eaten in the hospital. Zhao Wanqing checked online and found the location of the hospital canteen. The canteen of a large key hospital should store a lot of things, right? There should be some vegetables in the freezer. Let's eat. If so, can the food be improved? Lin Fan said that he wanted to eat vegetables for a change. On that one occasion, Zhao Wanqing remembered it firmly in his heart. If there are new discoveries in the canteen, it doesn't mean that now, Lin Fan can eat the vegetables he cooked. This should make Lin Fan, the master, happier. In Lin Fan's heart, her impression will be deepened a lot, right? If before the end, someone told her that there was one day she would go to such great lengths to please a man, Zhao Wanqing would definitely think that the man was crazy. But now that was the fact, she racked her brains and thought, trying to leave a deep impression on Lin Fan. Just to grab the second position in the main palace before women like Zhao Yanyan after her appearance is restored. She doesn't a Euro trademark T want to be the first in the main palace. Eat a Euro trademark S not that she doesn't a Euro trademark T want to compete, but Lin Yuyu is too strong. How can an ordinary person like her compete? But the second position. She must want it. Looking at Lin Fan's obviously interested eyes, Zhao Wanqing smiled sweetly and said nothing. She didn't dare to praise Haikao. If Lin Yuyu went there, she would bring nothing back. Who is responsible for this? Zhao Wanqing planned to let it slip, and Lin Fan did not intend to ask further questions. Anyway, everything will be known when Lin Yuyu comes back. Go and call Zhao Yanyan out. I'll wait for you downstairs. Zhao Wanqing responded and looked curiously at Lin Fan who came downstairs. She didn't understand why Lin Fan asked them to go downstairs. Without thinking much, Zhao Wanqing walked to the door of the room, knocked on the door, and walked in. She looked at the three people in the room. A woman, Zhao Wanqing said calmly, the Lord is back and wants you two to go down. After hearing Lin Fan's order, Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki didn't dare to delay at all and got up quickly. Although they had a lot of fun last night, they will inevitably have difficulty moving today. Fortunately, this is a hospital. They applied some medicine and it was obviously better than in the morning. A lot. Seeing Zhao Yanyan and the others disappear at the door, Mu Yuking's face was slightly rosy under the quilt, and her beautiful eyes blinked, recalling the processes that Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki shared before, and those words of tiger and wolf. Mu Yuking thinks about it now somewhat dizzy. Yanyan and the others were injured like that lord must be very strong. Zhang Li murmured to himself that Mu Yuking had never seen Lin Fan until now, and all he knew were the narratives of Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki. Downstairs in the supermarket, Lin Fan crossed his arms and looked at the women in front of him. He just counted 36 women in total. Under Lin Fan's attention, these women lowered their heads and looked reserved, like primary school students caught by the teacher. The three girls Zhao Wanqing who had just walked down were shocked when they saw so many women. Did they catch so many women in just one trip? Especially Zhao Wanqing, she was even more panicked. Good guy, are there a bunch of competitors again? But fortunately, looking at the beauty of these women, she felt relieved a lot. Lord. Zhao Wanqing and the three girls walked up to Lin Fan and bowed their heads to say hello. Lin Fan raised his finger and pointed at the 36 women in front of him and said, from today on, they are under the control of you three. Do you understand? Zhao Wanqing and the other three were stunned for a moment, then quickly nodded and said, I understand, Your Majesty. With a flip of his palm, 3 pistols appeared out of thin air. One for each. If they disobey, I allow you to shoot them, but it is best not to let me know that you are abusing your power. Looking at the 3 pistols in the air, whether it was Zhao Wanqing or the 36 women they brought back, their hearts trembled. I'll teach you how to use a gun later. As for you, Lin Fan looked at the 36 women in front of him and said, your task is to clean the hospital dormitory and clean up all the blood stains and the like. Wan Qing, you take turns supervising. Those who don't work seriously will not have food today. Okay, lead a Euro trademark s all disperse. Doomsday, I am the only one in the world who has superpowers. Author, Gugu Da. Chapter 40. Chapter 040 Outrageous Faith Value, Lord, are you a god? Boom. 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 The sound of gunshots echoed, and the three women Zhao Wanqing, Li Saiqi, and Zhao Yanyan stood in a row and shot at the water bottle 50 meters away in a stylish manner. Standing not far away, watching the three people shooting, Lin Fan couldn't help but shake his head. This marksmanship was too bad. Of course, he also knew that marksmanship is something that is trained and fed with bullets, and it is difficult to master it in a short period of time. What an achievement! Is it possible to let them practice marksmanship every day? This is not very realistic. First of all, there are not that many bullets, unless he goes to the police station, but this does not change the disadvantage of needing to spend a lot of time practicing. How to do it? If you are in doubt, ask the system. System, what should they do in this situation? Is there any solution? Lord, you can spend 10 points to exchange for firearm proficiency and then teach it to them. The basic requirement is that your faith value reaches 90 points. You still retain ownership of the ability and can reclaim it at any time. Sure enough, the system is omnipotent, but why gun mastery can be taught with 90 faith points but powers need to reach the full value of 100 points? Lord, do you think the abilities of ordinary people can be compared with the abilities of extraordinary beings? Okay, everything you said is right. It's just that. After looking at the three women who were working hard to practice their marksmanship, Lin Fan was a little unsure. Do the three of them have enough faith in him to reach 90 points? If Zhao Wanqing wasn't deliberately putting on a show this morning, judging from her worried look, 90 o'clock should be enough. But Zhao Yanyan and the others were completely forced to do so. They just met yesterday and slept together at night. No matter how they thought about it, their faith value could not reach 90 points. With this in mind, Lin Fan opened the attribute panels of the three of them. Character, Zhao Wanqing. Strength, 8, 10. Agility, 7, 11. Intelligence, 14. Physique, 8, 11. Faith value, 98. Power, none. Tips, due to long-term hunger and malnutrition, the three-dimensional attributes are currently slowly recovering. Character, Zhao Yanyan. Strength, 9. Agility, 7, 9. Intelligence, 12. Physique, 8, 10. Faith value, 91. Power, none. Tips, the body suffered a dimensionality reduction blow, the agility and physical properties were reduced, the injuries were recovered, and the properties returned to normal. Character, Li Saiqi. Strength, 8. Agility, 7, 9. Intelligence, 13. Physique, 7, 9. Faith value, 92. Power, none. Tip, the body suffered a dimensionality reduction blow, the agility and physical attributes were reduced, the injury was recovered, and the attributes returned to normal. Lin Fan? The previous prompt was normal, but what happened next? What is dimensionality reduction attack? The system was obviously hinting at something to him, right? But what about the faith value? Why do these three people have such high faith values? Lin Fan even suspected that there was something wrong with the system. It was expected that Zhao Wanqing would exceed 90 points, but 98 was really unexpected. This is almost the full value. But Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiqi only met yesterday. And at night, he arbitrarily took away the other party's most precious thing. It's normal for his faith value to be so low that he hates him to death. But his faith value is not negative, and it directly exceeds 90 points, which is obviously abnormal. Lin Fan believed that there was such a thing as love at first sight, but it was very abnormal for two women who were obviously goddesses before the apocalypse to fall in love at first sight for him. System, are you sure that the faith values a euro of Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki are correct? Lin Fan looked suspicious. My lord, there is nothing wrong with the attributes. The specific reason cannot be explained by the system, and the woman's heart system cannot fully interpret it. Maybe there is a sentence you should have heard. What words? The shortcut to a woman a euro trademark's heart is. Lin Fan was stunned. I'll go, the hearse drifts. Is the system driving openly? In any case, the three women's faith points were all sufficient, which saved Lin Fan a lot of trouble. After spending 10 points to redeem firearm proficiency, Lin Fan waved to the three women, come here, you three. The gun missed the target. The three women were so nervous that they didn't dare to look at Lin Fan. Now they were summoned by Lin Fan. The three girls lowered their heads and walked closer, closing their eyes and preparing to be scolded. What are you thinking with your heads down? You don't a euro trademark think you are a genius marksman, do you? The first time you touched a gun, it hit every target? Who gave you confidence? I don't even have that confidence. After being ridiculed mercilessly, the three women lowered their heads and looked at each other sheepishly, feeling relieved in their hearts. Wanking, come here. Facing Lin Fan's gaze, Zhao Wanking was a little confused. She bit her thin lips and took 2 steps forward. There was only 1 foot away from Lin Fan. She raised her hand and put it on the top of Zhao Wanking's head. All the experiences of firearm proficiency were instilled in her. There was so much information in her mind that Zhao Wanking was stunned for a moment, as if she was digesting the knowledge in her mind. Then, Lin Fan taught firearms proficiency to Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki one by one. Unlike teaching supernatural powers, he taught firearms proficiency. This skill does not consume points, but only consumes some energy. Lin Fan can completely bear this mental consumption. After a while, the three women who had digested the firearms proficiency experience came to their senses one after another. Zhao Wanking's eyes were complicated. Looking at Lin Fan, the shock in my heart could not be greater. Teaching a skill out of thin air, this method, simply terrible. Zhao Yanyan and Li Saiki were much more straightforward. They looked at Lin Fan with admiring eyes, and Li Saiki's eyes sparkled. Lord, are you God? It is so powerful and allows us to gain knowledge and experience about firearms out of thin air. I feel like the gun in my hand is like a part of my body. I can easily hit the target without even having to aim.